Welcome back to my channel. I feel like Nikki's tutorials or something. Here I am again. This time it's wig making. And this is a cradle. You've seen them in college. You know what they're used for. They are to hold your block when you are knotting postiche. Now, typically in the industry, well, camera went funny there. Typically in the industry, you would use wooden blocks and malleable blocks, and all different stages of making postiche require different blocks. Now, this is a malleable block. It is made with sort of cork and sawdust inside, which is why it's wrapped in cling film. The cling film is to stop it from getting wet and mouldy and warped and swollen and gross from any like products or moisture that you use. But it's soft, you can pin straight into it. And we're going to use this for our whole knotting process. You can get different sizes and slightly different shapes, long necks, short necks. You can get chin blocks that are specifically for facial postiche, but this is fine for what we're going to be using it for. Next, we've got drawing mats. So these are, well, you've seen these before as well. These are used to not only hold hair. By the way, this is in slow-mo. I'm not just like really creepy and moving really slowly. It's just to give me time to speak. So it's drawing mats are used to hold the hair together, spiked mats. On a professional basis, if you were to blend hair, you would use something called a hackle, which looks very similar to this, but it's got really long spikes on it, and you can like whip hair through it to mix different colours together. You can do exactly the same with this. You will have seen me use these when we've done crepe hair, like laid on hair beards and things. Very similar, but just used for knotting postiche as well. It's very important that depending on what hair you use, you lay it into your drawing mat in the direction of the cuticle. So if you're using human hair, you obviously have the root in the tip of the hair. You have to knot that hair into your postiche in the way that it would grow out of the head, with the cuticle going down. If you don't, it will cause the hair to sit funny. It won't fall properly. That's not what I'm using for this. I'm actually using animal hair, but I'll come to that shortly. Now, this is your knotting hook and holder. There are a lot of different types of knotting hooks and holders, and they're kind of like fishing hooks. So the little pin stuck out the end, that is the knotting hook itself. They come in different lengths, different curvatures, with a different sized hook on the end. So in a minute, hopefully I'll be able to zoom in a little bit more to allow you to fully see that there is a tiny little serrated line, if you will, like at the end of that hook, which is what catches the hair when you're knotting. So you'll see, oh God, eventually you'll see, when it focuses, a tiny little ridge at the end of the hook. It's very difficult to see, but it's like a little barbed hook, and that is what catches the hair, and that's what allows you to knot. That will get stuck in your clothes, your pillows, your duvet, your curtains, your carpet, your skin, your leg. It's like a proper fishing hook. So it's very fragile. If you bend it or bang it, it will snap. But also, once it goes in, it doesn't come out very easily because it's hooked. So don't get it in your leg or don't sit on it because it hurts. If you unscrew the brass piece at the end of the knotting hook holder, it loosens and you can take the hook out and replace it with a different size or shape. That would depend on if you were doing like lots of thick hair knotting on a big wig or fine knotting on facial postiche. So make sure that's nice and tight and that your hook's in there firmly, and that is your knotting hook ready to go. So this is my lace. Now, facial postiche wigs are all constructed out of lace or mesh or net or gauze, whatever you want to say. The lace is designed to be knotted into but be invisible once on the skin. You can get thick laces for big operatic wigs, or you can have fine Swiss lace for facial postiche. Around the edge of my lace you will see a ribbon, and that is galloon, and that is used to strengthen and bond sections of like foundations together inside of a wig. We also use it when stretching our lace on the block ready for knotting. It stops the net or the lace from tearing, and it holds it in place and protects it. And then I've got T-pins around the edge. Underneath you can see that I've got a stencil, and that is an eyebrow shape that I've measured on my model or my actor, and I've transferred that onto red paper to make it easier to see against the lace. The hair that we're working with is yak hair. As I said, you can use human hair, Angora, yak hair, horse hair. Like, there are so many different types that you can use. This is good because it's thick and it's wiry, and it's good for kind of bushy beards or moustaches, but that will very much depend on your character. So what I've got here is a lace front wig that I made a long time ago, but it's just it's very rough, but it's just to show you what the inside of a wig or a postiche looks like. You can see the knots, you can see the lace, you can see that when you hold it against the skin, it's quite sort of realistic in that you don't see the base. So here I am about to do my first knot. This is single knotting, 1 hair per hole. This is what you do along the hairline of a postiche or on facial postiche. 1 hair per hole to look like it's grown out of the skin, to give a very natural, realistic result. So I am doing a single knot with my hair, and I'm knotting in the opposite direction to what I want the hair to fall. So I put my hooking facing down, I did my knot, and then the hair will sit upwards, because you have to follow the growth pattern of what you're knotting. So the best way to start is take a loop of hair. So you bend that hair in half in the middle and you create a loop. You put your hook through 1 bar of the lace, you wrap the hair around, you create a hole, you pull it through. I'm going to show this to you several times, and I'm going to do it in slow motion as well. So, slow motion. Get that hook under just 1 strand of the lace, and that loop of hair gets hooked onto the end. Keep it taut, that's the key. Slide it back through so you can see the hair's under 1 strand of lace. Now I let that little hoop of hair go right down to the bottom of my hook. I then go over and under, and as I pull my hook back away, it grabs the hair and pulls it through the little loop that I initially created. And when you pull it all the way, there you go, a little knot. Very delicate. You can't see a great big ball at the bottom. It's secure, but it's a delicate knot. So I'm going to do it more than once so that you can see this, and you will get the ump with this initially. You've got to keep going, and I promise you, you will eventually get into a rhythm with it. So there I am with my little loop. Where's my hook? There it is. Under 1 strand, hook that on the end. Keep it taut when you slide it through. Look, you can see sometimes it's tricky. Drop it to the bottom, over and under, slide and pull. And as you pull, you kind of almost then need to start pushing away. Sometimes the hair gets a little stuck, like mine has here, and you might need to get your finger in there and just pull it a little bit to kind of tease it out. And then when you move it up, you'll have a nice knot. Can I just state, I do use cuticle oil. Look at the state of my fingers. Okay, you'll see me knotting in real time now, and I do it with a bunch of hair, and I pick just one at a time up out of that bunch. Now, I'm not particularly fast at this. There are people that can whiz through it, but I'm okay for speed. However, it is more about accuracy. Like, you need your knots to be facing the same direction. You need them to be neat. You don't want a great big pretzel shape at the bottom of your knot. And by the way, sometimes you'll hear it called ventilating, like it's an American term, like a ventilated wig or ventilating a postiche is the same thing. It's hand knotting, and it is something that is very desirable as a makeup artist. If you want to go into TV and film, this is an amazing skill to have. There are jobs out there purely in knotting and styling wigs. So it's definitely something that's worth putting some time into and shouting about on your CV, because, you know, it does set you apart from a lot of other makeup qualifications where you don't necessarily look at knotting and stuff. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit whilst you just see me knotting, and then I'm going to show you just a couple of like common mistakes that I see a lot that are kind of like what not to do. So this I see a lot. This is someone grabbing a great big bunch of hair and trying to get it into a knot, and all you end up with is a big fat blob at the bottom on the net, on the lace, that kind of looks like a black dot where the hair is, and then like a bunch of hair sticking out in all different directions. That's going to be highly visible. And another thing I see happen a lot is tearing the lace and stretching the lace where you're pulling too hard. If your knotting hook is getting stuck, or you're pulling too hard and you're tearing the lace, put it down and have a day off. Literally. Go and find something else to do for 5 minutes, because it usually happens when you're tired. And when you start to get to that point and you're pulling too hard, you're going to tear the lace. It is repairable if you've got the right type of threads to sew it back together. But for you, knotting for your first time at home, you want to avoid that. If you make a mistake, you can cut the hair off and gently pick out the knot itself from the lace. But if you do make a big tear, you may need to get clear thread and stitch it back together, or disguise it with hair knotted above and around it. So a couple of last knots to show you. I start very much like when you do laid on hair at the top and then go to the bottom, so you're not knotting over yourself, and I follow the direction of the hair growth, but your needle goes in the opposite direction. So I want my hair to go up and outwards, and eventually that will become a complete brow.